How is everyone?
Good.
Good evening.
We had a major thunderstorm last night, a lot of heavy rain.
I
Came through.
saw on Facebook.
Yeah, winds picked up, rain picked up.
Wonder if the fire department was out all night.
I don't know. I didn't hear any alarms go off, to be honest with you. I was up watching the Yankee game, which was delayed 2 hours, and they never resumed it. So they ended the game 2-0. But I was up till midnight, and then the skies opened up at 11:30, 12, somewhere around.
Yeah, it was around that time.
Just printing out your questions, BJ, and then we will go through them. I know Shelby did some answers. We can review them as a group.
Yeah, we'll get you caught up a little bit.
Yeah, we have the assessors at 10 and cabinet at 10:30, chief at 11.
Okay. Yeah, I
So
watched them all yesterday, both of them yesterday.
Yeah.
Sounds like you have a cold.
I don't know. No, I think it's just I haven't slept really at all.
So maybe she'll zoom in, I don't know.
At least you checked.
I did. I appreciate it.
See BJ's question or email.
It was at 9:25, well, on 9:25 at 11:12.
And I just responded, if you see my
I
email.
see yours, I don't see.
Because then if you scroll down,
Be down at the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah, the same one.
The one I see is both number. That it?
That's one of them. And then forward of budget.
It says budget meetings. Do you want me to forward it to you,
I
Joe?
got it.
Oh, okay.
I'll do it from Shelby's.
yeah, I answered the ones I could. The other ones I think were like more discussion for you guys.
Okay.
All right, so let's start with town board. We're going through BJ's questions now. BJ had a time to watch the meetings at the over the weekend. Gotta bear with me, I got a little bit of a headache.
I'm sorry.
On page 4.
Okay, all right, so if we start at the top, at the town board section, which is page
4 of 55.
Okay, so professional services, you want to know why it was modified in 2022 from 195 to 137, 760. That was the transfer from professional services went to attorney to cover the increase in Stephen.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
Gotcha. And so,
go ahead, BJ.
no, and so to keep it at 200 for next year makes sense?
Yes, I did.
Given what's going on legally for us, or?
Yes, I did a detailed analysis of everything, like what, we've got two extra attorneys to cover Stephen and Jerry because they're being sued personally, as well as the town board. And then, let's see, I was trying to clean up my notes
All the
yesterday.
consultants were hiring for secret and everything.
Yes, yeah. Let's see. I made the mistake of trying to consolidate my two budget books, the preseason one with.
Uh-oh.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, we've got Cullen and Danowski, we've got Jen Meziano, we've got Lamb and Barnowski for their base retainer that covers all, human resource things. Then an estimate for extras, because we've had to use them for extras over the years. Gatsby 75 is in there. And then the two attorneys that I mentioned, miscellaneous surveys, secret people. It gets us, I got to 195 in my estimate, so.
Yeah.
200 seems safe.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, next you said office and equipment. Office and miscellaneous or equipment.
I'm not sure which line it would be, but those chairs just kill my back and I'm there a lot. Except when we're here.
They're better than the old ones.
Okay, we'll bring back the old ones. No.
Oh, no, the wooden,
Wooden ones that make the awkward noises.
One's in my office.
yeah.
They were good enough for us.
Well, if there's, the other thing about this is if there's a little, money left in the office and miscellaneous for this year, maybe we could get a head start on this if we do want to buy new chairs.
Yes,
Mhm.
and a different shaped table that is more accommodating.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be, I looked a little bit online. I don't think it's inexpensive, but maybe the guy, Ron and the rest of, and Nikki can help us with that. I don't know,
Mhm.
you know. But at least the chairs, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, let's keep going. All right, we'll see what we can come up with for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Postage.
I think that was because the price of stamps went up.
Yeah,
Okay, so this number doesn't take into effect that she's gone from 2 to 1 mailings per year.
thought she did.
I think this was based on actuals.
Yeah, okay. All right. Assessors, I guess we can talk when they come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, oh, okay, then Stephen was 140, so I see the 2%. I'm just reading down Shelby's responses.
Yeah, the unallocated insurance.
Right,
Right,
right, where's,
You answer that one, Shelby?
Yeah, and
Your estimate is 197, 192.
that was for last year.
Okay.
So I think Barb's got the estimate for this year.
Just as a starting point, Shell, are we still at 5 point something or other? 4 or 2 or whatever that was?
Yeah, 5.1.
Is it down to 5.1?
I have
It was
5.1.
Friday.
Yeah,
It was
I have 5.1.
5.1, okay.
Okay, so these, do we have the current numbers for the,
I think what's in there is what Barbara got. Yeah,
okay. All right,
So my feeling on this 5.1 is, you know what, I've expressed this before, BJ, that my goal is to get down to 3.9 or less, you know, so we're only 1.2 away from that. And there's other ways, I don't want to nitpick on things unless when we do today in tomorrow's work with the department heads, that there's something glaring that just overestimated or underestimated in terms of expenditures or revenues that we can make up some distance. Otherwise, there's a plan to get down to that number. But I just feel that, you know, for a lot of reasons, that's a good number to try to strive for. Whether we can get there or not will remain to be seen. But, you know, we went through this thing twice now, going through here, and without the department heads in front of us, I think we've done as much as we possibly can do to get down from 6 point.
I'm not,
For-
and let me just interrupt you for a minute here, Jim. I'm not looking necessarily for reductions. These are just kind of like general questions on how we came up to certain numbers. I'm not nitpicking or anything.
No, I'm not suggesting that you are. I'm just saying that when we have gone through this thing twice now, we have made these adjustments to try to get from the 6.4 or whatever it was at, down to 5.1. And we don't have, a lot more to go to get down to 3.9. It's 1.2, which is about $140,000, give or take a few bucks. And there's ways of getting there, but I would definitely want to get through today's meetings with the department heads and tomorrow's meetings, find out whether we can do that without going to Plan B. You know, if there's a Plan A where we can make some cuts here or there or increase revenues, that's great. If not, that's my suggestion. And the reason I say that is that, you know, with inflation and everything else, so the taxpayers are going to say, hey, listen, you know, school taxes remain, you know, again, their enrollments went down, so there's no reason why they couldn't keep, you know, keep that expenditure, their budget items right at what they were the year before. But for us, with what we're trying to accomplish, if we can come in at, you know, 3.9 or less in that range, God bless you, I think it's a good thing. And we've also taken care of, you know, some people that we really felt needed to be taken care of with 4% raises. And it doesn't bring them up as much as inflation has, but it was an attempt to take care of some of the irregularities and some of the salaries that we had for our town workers, and that was a good thing. So I applaud that.
BJ, I mean, I see this as just really answering all the questions because you haven't been here. So, you know, when we get
No.
to the fine, that'll come at a later date, but let's keep going with your questions, okay?
Yeah, this came up as we were, or as I was just watching over the weekend, your last two meetings. So, yeah, the lifeguards, do we know, did they just, were they unable to hire everybody they wanted to this summer?
No, they had a full staff. I don't think the final payment's in there, Cheryl.
Yeah, maybe
It's
not.
August, this is through, what's the date?
Yeah,
It's through August.
Yeah, so BJ, the final payment's not in there. We didn't put an increase in page 22. We didn't put an increase in for them, so I just felt it was safe to keep the same number.
Well, then
Yeah,
the
we-
budget was modified to 47, so that's what I'm wondering if that maybe is a better number for the, Shelby, when you check on the final payment, just to see what the total was. You know,
And we started with 6, we went to 7. I believe this year we were at 8 lifeguards. And the reason we have to go to 8 is to cover all the shifts, but then too, the college kids go back earlier. So sometimes you lose kids, you know, in mid-August or third week of August at the latest. They're already back in college. So we needed to have that extra staff there to make sure we could cover through Labor Day weekend.
okay, then on to revenues, I guess, mortgage tax.
The rest of these, the next ones, yeah, mortgage tax, have a page.
It's on page 28.
28.
Yeah, mortgage tax, yeah, you're right, we did bring it up last year based on projections. This year, through 3/4 of the year, we anticipated 500,000 year to date, no, not year to date, through the end of August, we have 507,000, so there's still a quarter to go. So I know that the real estate market's going down, but since we still have a quarter to go, I think we're gonna, you know, I feel that 500 is a safe number. I didn't
I
want to
don't
raise it.
know, I don't know, Jerry, if you take out, just to go back pre-COVID, I asked Shelby to get those numbers, 250, 300,
Yeah.
you know, 2019 being the last year. And
Mhm.
I think the COVID drive might be over, and mortgages they just keep going up every month. I just think that we really could have and there's very little inventory right now. I just don't know if 500 is doable.
All right, we'll talk about that one. Everybody mark that one. Okay. Town clerk.
259.
Oh, I was just, yeah, kind of wondering if dock permits should be highlighted, like, you know, they're going to the WMAC. I mean, you know, like mooring fees.
Mhm.
Okay, John.
I don't think they,
Page 29.
Those have always been in the, you know, in this revenue line.
I mean, not in that revenue line, but you know how you've been highlighting in this budget, the items
Right.
that are
Well,
for
the-
waterways oriented.
BJ is supposed to cover Congdon Creek Dock. You know,
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought it was, no, that's up ahead. That's at A2040. I thought dock fees were what you pay to get the permit.
Where do you see?
Oh, yeah, you're looking, it's dredging dash dock permits.
Yes. Hmm. Yeah. And we were gonna raise the dock fees, you know, the fee to get a dock permit too.
Mhm.
I don't think
Different.
that's in there. Because Congdon's Creek is up a couple of lines.
Right.
Mhm.
All right, we'll have to check this one.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay,
Alright. And does anybody know what Deering Harbor dock lease is?
that's
Bottom.
one Chip uses in the winter for his boat down at Pecosy.
Okay. I say we should pay him. It looks so nice there, like an active waterfront. Okay. So recreation.
Recreation, okay.
Yeah, so this one I asked Bethany this morning.
Mhm.
She said, because I said, oh, I showed that like almost 21,000 was collected in April alone. And she said that's when they open up the registration for summer programs, so they always get a big influx then. And then she said the reason she did 33,000 for next year is because she doesn't want to over project. She never really knows who will sign up.
Yeah.
And she also doesn't know like which programs will run or not based on like which instructors say that they have time to do it. So yeah, that,
Great. That makes perfect sense then. Yep. Great, thank you. Capital improvement.
I
Oh,
like the facilities master plan.
Yeah.
Add money for town campus planning.
right.
What page, wait, no.
Capital improvements.
What pages?
the end.
53, right?
Wasn't even close.
Okay, so we budgeted $75,000 for our projects, which include ADA compliance, carport for the seniors, garage expansion at the ambulance building, power stretcher systems,
EMS.
for the EMS, update the radios, we're gonna do 5,000 a year for 3 years. It's for the EMS, 2 new engines for the police boats, and upgrade the countywide radio system. That's a 40,000 over 3 years, and that's a mandated cost.
Mhm.
So what do you think? You know, do we want to have this discussion now or at a work session or? What do you want?
We could do it at a work session. I mean, that would be fine. I just really want to keep it on our radar. Um, because we know we have to deal with the building next door, and to try to deal with it within a larger picture, I think would be good.
You don't,
Okay.
And Shelby, you mentioned ARPA. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I just sent you a link.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a bunch of resources out there on like what the projects can be.
Mhm.
I know it's a lot of, like, any sort of infrastructure, water quality, like, there's a whole
Yeah.
list you can.
Yeah, infrastructure, so maybe campus planning.
Friday afternoon, I spoke with the, you know, letting go of that. Friday afternoon, I spoke with the governor's office and, today we have to make up a list of all our, grant applications, so they're aware of what we're looking for. She said if they can but not the governor, but our aide said that, if they can help us, any way they can help us, they will.
Shelby, do you have access to that master list?
Yeah.
It's in SharePoint. Okay, any grants?
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, good. Great. Thanks so much for doing all that, Shelby.
You're welcome.
The last question with the doctors, the Historical Society in Goat Hill, it's really not part of the budget process, BJ. It's more just FYI,
No.
this town asks and we handle.
Oh, did we want the Historical Society to come in and talk?
Oh, yeah, the Historical
25,000?
Society. Yep, they can come.
I think you'd go through just the steps to do that. I think she's gonna come in and convince you that, this is what we do, we've done this before. I don't,
But again, we have two new board members, it can't hurt that,
okay.
have them come in.
I just think it would be nice if we had, maybe in January or just a month that's maybe not as busy, to have in these, what we just mentioned there, and the Bayman / WMAC to give us a state of the waterways account. Just to get it on a calendar every year would be so great,
Good point.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure we're up to date with everybody.
Yeah, and they feel they're being heard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, BJ, on your end?
No, I think that covers my questions. I'm ready to move forward today, but we don't have anybody till 10, right?
Maybe we could take a short recess till 10,
Yeah,
all right?
yeah, because I'm just,
Yeah, because rather than, look like we're trying to find something to talk about,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
adjourn till 10 o'clock first, then we have meetings throughout the rest of the morning,
Right.
okay?
Okay, good. All right, see you at 10.
Why don't you stay on? Great.
okay.
All right, now what specifically are we looking at there?
We're looking at the whole
Whole thing,
ball of
the
wax.
whole in July.
Guess we're starting with salaries, right?
Yeah.
Straight to,
Okay.
all right.
So what I explained to the town board, my proposal is this a very unique situation with the assessors? In 2021, we modified the budget because Craig Wood, who was the chairman, felt that the ladies deserved more of his share because they were doing the bulk of the work, and traditionally it was the chairman did all the work or the majority of the work, and the two assistants, two other assessors helped him, but that's not how it came out. So we divvied up the money, per their recommendations. And it was 53,375, 44,888, and 44,880. Prior to that, the salary was $35,000. So we took some money from Craig and gave money to the ladies. My proposal going forward is we go back to what it was 35,000, then do the increments. The first year we did a freeze, then 2% and 4% for this year, but I'm proposing an overall 10% increase from the 2021 35,000 that was budgeted. So this is strictly, budget calculations. I needed something to work off of. This is what I'm working off. This is my proposal. The assessors feel that the work has gotten a lot more involved. And just like we're discussing with everyone, quite frankly, there's a need to reevaluate the salaries. So that's where we are. So my proposal is 38,500, and their proposal is 47,124. Okay? BJ, you want to start with some questions?
And actually an observation too, I think let's not forget, the most important thing is that the workload has increased. And just because of 600 plus building permits.
Right.
Also because of some work left undone, by previous, employees. So, you know, there's this whole catch-up thing, and, there's that. So I think my first question is, Pat, do we know, Pat, do you have your plans down for the next year? No.
Plans for what? For the reval or for, what are we talking?
No, Pat had mentioned that she was considering retiring at the beginning of 2023, and of course that's heartbreaking. So I was just
No.
wondering if she.
My coworkers have asked me to stay on as long as they need me.
And so has your town board.
So the situation has changed.
And also, we need to figure out what the correct salaries should be regardless of who actually sits in that
Right.
seat.
Correct.
Right.
So just so we're all on the same page, my assumption was the chair, Bill, is full-time. How many hours a week is that?
35 or 40?
35 hours a week?
Yeah.
And the two deputies are 20 hours per week.
No, that's changed. We're 30 hours a week now.
Or 30?
Yeah, they're putting in 30 hours.
We can't do the job at 20.
A lot of catching up to do. I just made up for last year, 2021. It's 2 pages like this of new houses and really major construction
Yeah.
that are not in the system. So we have to get them in by March 1st. That's just the big stuff.
Well,
That's
okay.
looking at this smaller stuff that,
It's not only that, you did hire another assessor. He comes from an office that's very different from the one on Shelter Island. There are a lot of things, they never did that down there that we do. So it's gonna be.
village versus town.
Right, it's gonna require a certain amount of training. And he's never even used our computer system before. He's trying really hard to get caught up on that. But we're putting in extra time training him. As a matter of fact, when he goes out to do an inspection, one of us has to go with him and one cover the office, only because he doesn't know the town as well as he will know eventually.
So Pat, Judith, and Bill, your request here of 47 for Pat and Judith, is that based on the 30 hours that you're currently doing?
I would assume yes. This
Okay,
year,
okay.
Oh,
So the request then is to put you back at the 47,124. Okay.
Okay.
There's a 5% increase in what they were getting last year. That's where the cost came from.
Mhm. Yep. And I have one other, I also am questioning the school travel mileage, not so much the mileage, but school and travel, based on what Pat just said. I think that number might be a little small, might be a little low, given what y'all might have to do this year coming up. I have to say, you know, of course, I'm the least objective person on the town board about this, but I think that their request is totally reasonable.
and quite honestly, mine was based on 20 hours. So we're going to
Yeah.
30 formula.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of taking classes, especially because it's a new computer system for me. I've already taken 1 full-day class, and I have 2 that I'm interested in, one in October, one in November. and one is on deeds, which I know very well, but I thought Blanca would be interested in that. She can kind of sit by, stays on the street and save another $100, but there's a lot of offerings that, I'd be interested in taking, which will get up to speed on this computer system. I pretty much know it now,
Yeah.
but just little, things about it.
You can learn tricks that make it more efficient too,
Exactly.
so that's always helpful.
I just came back from a conference. I was there from Sunday until Wednesday afternoon when it ended. And that was a really helpful conference. I learned a lot there.
And I'll be going next year.
You guys attend the Association of Towns?
No,
No?
we haven't been, there's never been an offering for classes
Okay.
that are geared towards us.
Mhm.
But our New York State Assessing Association.
Right.
They have a lot of good classes based towards us, so that's the
Right.
ones that we go to. They have them in July and again in September.
And online.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
online.
Bill, you kind of cut out, did I hear you say that you were encouraging Blanca to start taking some classes?
Yes, she actually watched some of the last class, which was on V4. Like I said, I put her to the side so we can save $100. But there's one on deeds, which she does a lot with the public. And she's not quite, she could learn a lot. I know them very well, but like meets and bounds and things like that, she could really learn that. And when somebody comes in,
That's excellent.
handle them, we handle them now for those things, but she's very eager to learn, so it's
She's
great.
very competent, very
Very
competent.
competent.
Yeah, I think anything you could do for her continuing education would be great in this position.
Yeah.
Just terrific. So again, that line, we might have to, if you just want to re-examine it, assessors and the education, the school travel line, just to make sure that you think we have enough based on what you think the year brings.
Yeah,
I think 25.
I think 2,500 at least, given the classes.
We get reimbursed for the conference, I think, through, so, that's not a really big deal, but all these classes add up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I
Class at least.
would say, I was thinking 2,500 to 3,000, maybe 27,500.
Yeah.
That should cover it.
Yeah.
Aren't you
Just wanted,
required?
We'll go 25.
Yes.
Or
He
not.
needs to take 12 credits a year.
Yeah.
And Bill will need 12 credits a year for his certification.
I already have 6.
decided.
I'll hold that away.
Yeah. All right.
All right, then the last one, the thing we need to talk about is the summer intern. What do you see that position as?
You guys were kind of bullish on it when we talked about it the past couple of times, and I really think it would be money well spent.
It doesn't
5,000,
have to be like when we do the interns with the engineers, they're engineering majors and they,
Right.
have a background. We need more of a set of hands.
somebody that
Yes.
knows computers well.
Yeah.
And I think, Jerry, you were saying not only for the summer, but maybe after school, or you even get a non-student older person that just wants a part-time job and is very competent. Maybe they were in real estate or something, or stay-at-home mom or dad. Because we would have very flexible hours
A lot of
to come in
flexibility.
and do stuff.
Jim, you got anything?
No, I'm just listening to how we would use that intern. I have no problem with using interns because I think the bang for the buck is usually pretty good for interns. I would just like something definitive written up about the intern would be used for the following purposes. And some type of, expectation of what that intern would accomplish. So that would
Putting
be-
in plans, computer would be a primary thing.
Did I hear, or maybe I'm wrong, this person going out and taking pictures of properties, is that somebody that you would?
Possibly.
Is there a lot of work there?
Yeah,
that
we need
take
to
a while?
update our inventory, so that would be something.
So it's somebody computer savvy and somebody that maybe can handle it. A camera's a camera, it's no big deal. It's not like you're putting a
We'll have
water.
to be downloaded.
Yes,
But they have to know what to take pictures of.
yeah,
Well, we have a CAD program, I think once they learn that, it'll be
Okay.
easy enough.
okay.
yeah.
You good?
So, yep, so we restored the salaries to the 47,124. and put back the summer intern at 5,000.
And up the travel to 2,500.
Yes.
Okay?
The other thing I wanted to add is about Blanca. We calculated that she does at least 10% with a tax receiver. And I had asked to allocate 10% of her salary instead of 5%. And it came through as 5% still. So I'd asked that that be done. And then she's got to punch in for Anne Marie's, to get the money from Anne Marie. And that kind of doesn't make sense because she's sitting there and she'll do an assessor thing and somebody will call in for the tax receiver. So I think it would be much better to just have it all on salary. I do that with the two departments, but, she's got to put in this time card and it's kind of,
Yeah,
doesn't make much sense.
okay.
But I would
This is
ask
part
that
of
the
her daily job.
10% be put towards tax receiver, because that really, I think it's at least, I wasn't here last tax collection time,
She
but
does a lot of
yeah,
tax receivers, too,
at least 15 to 20%, so
at least.
we can go back and look at that in the future. I was just gonna take a small step up to 10% this time. Agreeable.
Okay.
Treasurer's moving money.
Yeah, yeah, I'm just doing the
Yeah.
calculations.
4882.
Yes. She's at, what, 2% increase this year?
Yeah. I didn't do it with the increase, I just did it.
Yes, it would be 49. So the tax receiver line would be 4,097. 79.22.
Say it again?
Which line is that?
Line A 1330.102,
Tax receiver.
under tax receiver.
Okay.
So 4979.22.
Okay.
And then down below, she'll be at 44,812. 813 even.
Okay.
44,812.
813.
Okay. So it's the same amount of money, it's just reallocating it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming
A
in.
lot for us getting back and
No,
doing
we
everything.
had mentioned, when the building department made their presentation, that as busy as they are, it relates directly to, your department that, so we're beefing up that one, so obviously we need to,
Any update on the car?
You didn't see it parked in the lot this morning?
I'll check with the building, they're supposed to have ordered it, but I will tell you that I know the police ordered their new car, and they don't even have a production number yet. So let me see.
It'll be a while.
Is there any spare car we could use, maybe a day or two or
Let me find it.
afternoons?
Yeah.
Maybe
let me
the TCO car, the summer TCO, maybe that car.
That would really help.
Yeah. God bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make a call today and I'll get back to you guys. Okay,
Thank you.
okay,
The TCO car is a good idea.
yeah.
Did we actually get our car back, or are we still using the loaner?
No, we got it back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Right. Okay, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Guys,
Bill McCoy.
Yes. Well, I'm glad to see the back here. I know you had some.
Yes.
A little bit.
Okay. All right, so it's going back to the 47,124?
Yes.
Hey, how you doing? Good, how are you?
So basically with the increase in salaries, the increase in summer intern, the increase in travel, $22,848 increase. It was $8,624 each for each assessor, times two is $17,248. $5,000 increase for the intern, brings you to $22,248. $600 from Travel from $1,900 to $2,500, which brings you to $22,848 plus.
Christine, you want to see if Kevin's ready? Yeah, Kevin?
I have highlighted the independent audit. You give a chance to double check.
Yeah.
9755.
Yeah, we had that proposal. I think that number's fine, I said. It's
And unhighlighted it.
next year 7. Next year 73.1.
73.1.
Yeah.
That's line A1320. Book switches on page 6, I think.
6, yeah.
What are we looking for there?
The independent audit.
Yeah, 75.5.
Yeah, it's going to 73.1.
It's 73.1.
There you go, that fixed it.
Okay.
Plus $2,400,
That'll cover
Take it.
which now brings our net loss to
a small part of that.
about $25,000 per day
It's not over.
in the wrong direction.
Yeah, the day's not over.
We still have more.
Say IT's coming in and I already know what's coming.
Do we, make copies if Evan doesn't have any extra of that like down sheet? I think everyone should probably get a copy of that, right?
Yes.
That would be good.
We don't have that.
If I can find that.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Might have clean copies, I think I have
We had
notes.
it. Yeah.
Oh, now it's like more dull.
Take anything?
That's what I'm saying. That's now it's dull.
Where is that? Yeah,
I got other ones that they're all marked up.
I was gonna say, is that a clean copy I can make?
Shelby, don't forget to give me the worksheets.
You need those?
Same as last year.
I know, I never see it anywhere, like in any other towns, showing the worksheets. And because when I get worksheets from departments, it's just they send me their Excel sheet with the numbers plugged in.
Always get them.
Okay, it's just another copy of this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Not really.
yeah, because they don't write anything anymore. They just plug in their numbers and then send me back the Excel sheet. So they don't write anything.
Well, they send you a sheet with different numbers on it, right?
Yeah, which then
Yeah.
is in here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send you that.
Go with it, so.
Do you want to make it, or I can,
Yes.
or I can see in my email if you sent it to me?
I'm just double checking, make sure my number's correct.
Let's see it.
It's a little different, so we must have updated that. Okay, 65,840 and
33?
Yeah, okay, and then salaries. 25, okay.
Did you get what we did there?
Not yet.
Essentially, the assessors went back to their proposal.
Right, right.
Okay. Yeah, so they went back to.
To this,
Yeah.
and this. And
then
this
they
one
were-
is,
The one I handed out, that this is mine, Meg, that's last year we did
Yeah.
separate media and IT.
Okay,
Combined.
and this is
Combining them
combined.
two.
All right, cool.
Well, the bottom of my page is combined.
Yeah, I see.
You wanna walk us through, Kevin?
So this is different from,
What are you looking at?
The 2 pages you handed out, Amber.
Yeah, one was Jerry's and one was just the breakdown. What I handed out was the breakdown.
Right.
Which just shows what goes into the equipment.
Gotcha.
So I guess,
Yeah, on the bottom one that you're looking at of mine, Kevin, I think, are you looking at the bottom of mine?
yeah, I mean, I have the one that was sent the other day that.
Yeah, that's the one, 21, 221, 204?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one you're looking.
But why does it not show up here?
Because this was my worksheet that I was explaining.
Yeah, don't look at that one.
So this is.
That's just to show the top
Okay.
where we took the monies from,
Okay.
the separate budgets.
It's okay. It's confusing.
but if you look at the 2022 adopted column on page 11,
Right.
that has taken IT and media from last year, put it together.
Right.
So that, you know, makes it easier to see what's actually going on.
Okay.
So I guess to start with, you'll see the IT media adopted budget for salaries was 117,172 last year. It's going up to 119,364. And the reason being is there's just some rejiggering on responsibilities. Mary Ellen started 2022 with a 16,000 salary, 16,585. It was dropped back when we added 10,000 for COCO. Actually, that's missing. A modified budget section. She is going to further decrease her responsibilities in media, just as have her as a backup in case other people are on vacation, a little assistance is needed. So Kevin is picking up the duties that Mary Ellen was used to take on. So his salary is going from 81,600 to 89,864, which is some notes. How that calculation was made. Do you recall, Jerry? It was like,
Yeah, part of it was from the media. We took Mary Ellen's money from the media, and the other part was a percentage increase.
yeah, I think it was like the 4% plus shift of responsibilities.
Mary Ellen's 10,000 went to Coco, for this year, 2022,
Yeah.
the modified? Okay.
The modified is missing that 10,000.
Oh, well, because consolidated clerk line, that's why.
Oh, that's right, yes. Yes. Got it.
So then,
So in 2022, Kevin's salary stayed the same as was budgeted. In 2022, there was no
Yeah.
adjustments. Okay.
Yes, just that now we're adding them to the media department.
So what we proposed, Kevin, or the supervisors proposed is the 89,864, which is not quite the 95,328 that you requested.
No, that's fine.
So I don't know if you want to make your case or just go with it.
No, I was fine with that. I expected that. It was, because originally I think the numbers worked out to be like 7,200 from the media, and then I originally had 4% in. I think this kind of works out to be 7,200 plus 2%, which is fine. It's fine.
Okay,
Okay.
so let's get down to your big sheet, Kevin, I guess, the
Yeah.
maintenance and budget we'll start with.
Well, I mean, yeah, none of this really can move around too much. Its maintenance budget is pretty much kind of set in stone as to what this stuff costs. Obviously, it goes up every year. Some of the stuff is going up a decent amount. Email backups, for example, is going up quite a bit. So I think Sonic Wall is going up a bit. But none of that stuff is really necessarily negotiable. It's kind of what we have in place and it's what everything costs, so. there's not a lot of wiggle room out of that stuff. And I say, and a part of the reason that not everybody is privy to, there was a little bit of a mess up from 21 into 22. We were working off of incorrect numbers from 20 when we were doing last year's budget. And that's why it says 2022 corrected, because this is technically what
It should have.
it should have been. It's so, this year we're kind of tight because the numbers are wrong. So some of the money has to come out of the equipment budget to cover some of the maintenance budget that we were short on last year. So if you go back even further and look at, the numbers, it looks like a big increase. It's partially because we were working off of the incorrect numbers from the year prior. So this is a corrected 2022, what it is supposed to be, and then obviously 2023 is what we're going into. So just wanted to make sure that was clear. And as far as equipment budget, I didn't necessarily see, other than bringing in the media budget into the IT equipment budget, there really wasn't much difference. Everything, and even everything I'm kind of pricing out now for like servers and computers, pricing hasn't gone up too much. So I didn't necessarily see a need to increase numbers anywhere else on the equipment budget. We should be okay, especially now that if the maintenance budget is corrected and we have the correct amount of money in that, we should be fine on the equipment budget.
Yeah, that other equipment went up to $8,000, so what's that covering?
That
Oh.
is the other equipment is the $8,000 is from the media.
Okay.
The media line was like 5 or 6, was 6,000, so that's where that went from 2 to 8.
Okay.
Actually, our office and miscellaneous, you had put in 250, supervisor put in 6,250, thinking it had been overlooked, but you actually had incorporated, so we can take that to 250.
Yeah. You could take that down, but he'd also changed the maintenance budget a little bit, so that has to go back in. There was 3,000, I think, taken out of that.
The equipment, yes.
The equipment, so that has to go back in. That's what we were hoping to use that for.
Maintenance, I had it 65,590, and it has to be 65,840. And then the equipment is going from 30,000 to 33,000. So there's a,
Equipment's going from, 33, it should be 33,000.
right,
Oh,
Then
I see.
Office goes down.
Can go down to 250.
so it's an overall increase of $3,000, $3,014.
No, it's a decrease.
No, total increase.
Oh, you mean,
Yeah, because I didn't, well, this is 3 here. We got
yes, that
plus
goes up
3,
3,
and it goes up
250,
250, it's 3250,
and then that goes down 6. This line has to go down 6.
6,000.
Yeah, it goes down to
So
250.
it's already included in
Yeah.
that maintenance or in the equipment.
But we had a meeting last week about cybersecurity
Yeah, a lot of things changed in the,
after the county got hit.
yes.
So we had a meeting with East End Computers to understand what it is we are doing, and that's all the things in the maintenance budget, which is like, our file and folder backups, our sonic wall, antivirus, cybersecurity training, vulnerability scans, things like that. But we are missing a couple of components. So did you circle back with Ed to find out what we would need to get us upgraded so that at least we're covering?
Yeah, so
Should be.
we had discussed basically adding 3 effective layers of security to the system in light of some of the email issues we had recently with the town board with certain people, as well as stuff that's happening currently at Suffolk County, which we don't necessarily know, as we say, exactly what happened there. But basically the way we kind of thought it is, if something like that were to happen here and we didn't have this stuff in place, they would look at us like, why didn't you have that stuff? That's basically where we're coming from. It's really kind of basic level security for the modern era. Initially, I wasn't necessarily looking to throw this at it because my budget was so kind of wonky this year, and I was looking to maybe do this next year. But being that the current lighter situation with Suffolk County and everything, it's kind of like, we really should be kind of jumping on this sooner than later. So the 3 effective layers would be basic email filtering. Well, not basic, but it's pretty advanced, but more control over what kind of spam comes in, virus scanning of all emails, a quarantining of emails that have potentially issues, and a lot more control over basically what comes in. You don't really necessarily, with the way 365 is currently, there's not a lot of general control as to what comes in. So that was one layer. The second layer would be 2-factor authentication for mainly servers, because they're not something that generally people use every day. So it'd be hard to tell if someone was like logging into them. And that's what they're after is servers. So it'd be a 2-factor on servers and also all remote devices. So that would include all of you.
Oh,
Anybody that takes laptops home or anything, there would be a second layer to your login process. It's very simple. It literally just pops up on your phone and you hit allow, and that gets you. You don't have to type any numbers in or anything. It just pops up allow and you're in. I've used it in the past when I was doing work for East Hampton Village. It's a very solid system. So we would have that on all the servers. Also key internal members that deal with sensitive information, such as the chief/Jack at the police station. Just adding we don't necessarily need it on every individual computer, because that would be a little crazy expensive. But having it on the servers and also remote access people, I think, is very a good start. And then the third layer would be monitoring on the 365 in general, in the sense that it would be monitoring all the accounts in whether failed logins. We'd get reports on how many failed login attempts, where they're logging in from, if user accounts are created, if there's unauthorized forwarding created. It just gives you a centralized ability to overall monitor what's going on with the 365 account. Like right now, I can go to like your individual account and be like, last login failed if you missed your password or whatever. But I don't have any general, I have to do that to every single user. And
So how would it?
Notifications.
it would,
Send you something?
it's a system that gets kind of tied into 365, and then there's obviously a central control panel and also reporting that would give me or other people, if they need to be included, East End or whatever, either daily, weekly, monthly reports as to what's happening with the accounts. How many times are they logging in? Where are they logging in? Have failed attempts is a key one, because you want to see if someone's trying to hammer the accounts, stuff like that. So that would be the third general layer of it. And again, none of this pretends like it's going to make the system foolproof and bulletproof, and that's just impossible to have. But putting this type of stuff in place gives you more monitoring to see if something is changing unauthorized, as far as someone's in. Because the general idea is what we heard with Suffolk County is someone was in the system for a period of time without anybody knowing about it.
Before they did.
Yeah, so before they did anything. So at least with this type of stuff, you get some random alerts and stuff like that, like, that doesn't make any sense. At least kind of gives you on a path to kind of start investigating where this is coming from. Because right now, I mean, technically, if someone maybe got in with the way things are now, unless they've slipped up and did something really basic, that I would be like, oh, that's not right. There's not a whole lot to tell me unless I go in and investigate the system every day, to see if someone's actually in it. Town stuff is not ultra critical, but police stuff and justice court stuff, there's a lot of personal information, especially with, that doesn't necessarily need to be out in the open. That's where but it kind of throwing this all under an all town-wide thing, but obviously the larger concern is police department.
So I know the county's really being hush-hush on what's going on. But let's use us as the example. If whatever happened to them happens to us, it shuts us down completely?
Well, the problem, my understanding with them, and in this particular case, is that they pulled the plug in the sense that they didn't know how deep they were, because they were potentially in for so long. So technically, I'm assuming they assume that they were into everything. So therefore, you have to pull the plug on everything and then analyze everything to see what they were into. So they have to go piece by piece, everything. And obviously, our system's a heck of a lot smaller and overall simpler than such a system. But you have to kind of hit piece by piece to kind of be like, are they in here? Okay, no, move on to the next one. And you can't really put anything back up online until you know for sure that there's no little piece or crumb left behind that they can get back in. So that's potentially the damage of it all. I mean, there's obviously multiple things that they can do. They could just encrypt your data and hold it ransom or whatever. That's not the end of the world because we do have backups, but if they're in long enough, they can mess with the backups. You know what I mean? So then your backups are bad. And then, you know, so that's the kind of thing you're kind of.
And then, again, I don't know anything about this. There's no technology that we could screen the backup.
There is. I mean, yeah, the backups do give you potentially warning, but if they can get into that and disable those warnings, it depends, you know what I mean? If it depends on how deep they can go in. If they're very knowledgeable, obviously they can see, what they'll do is they'll get in the system and they'll look around. They won't do anything potentially for a while. They'll look around, see what's happening, and then they'll start to do things, you know, because they know exactly how your backups work, how all that stuff works. And potentially, you know, hide their tracks. But the idea is to have systems in place to kind of try to catch them or be a trip line for them to step over that gives you a warning that someone's meddling in with the system.
So Kevin, when we took out the insurance policy, the cyber, maybe Jim, I don't know who answers this, that's to cover us for ransom, or is that?
It does. It also, some of this also applies, like when they give you the questionnaire for that, they ask you for some of this stuff, and we obviously have to say, no, we don't have it. So that makes potentially our premium higher.
Right.
I'm not saying it makes it's a one-to-one wash or anything like that, but I honestly, I researched into what we had to send the questionnaire to them, but I didn't necessarily look into what that meant. It's like, because I wasn't involved when they actually signed up for it. Essentially, yes, it does, my understanding, covers us for that, in the sense that, like, if we had to bring in third-party vendors, which I'm sure Suffolk County's doing, you know, outside vendors to clean the system, find out what the damages are, that all costs money, obviously. And that's essentially my understanding of what the cybersecurity would cover, because that could cost crazy money. Potentially.
Okay.
But I haven't looked at like line by line as to what that policy covers, or it's a couple years old. I don't think it's brand new. I think it's been around. We've had it for like 3 or 4 years or something like that.
So let's cut to the chase.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so
What's
back to
the
the,
relay is gonna cost us? 18,000?
Yeah.
okay.
And that's, well, we were talking like 20 estimation in our meeting the other day. This has a little bit of padding in it if we had to add more users as we go into it. But we're looking at about 8.
Kevin, is this all in-house, or do we use East End computers, or a combination of both, or?
Well, no, it'd be mostly in-house in the sense, I mean, they would have access to it, and they would be involved in setting it all up. But likely we would have it build, all that type of stuff built directly through us. And then you would just have access to it. Because going forward, they have a lot of stuff of our accounts, but going forward, as we add stuff, it doesn't make sense to have them be it. So yeah, it would be mainly in-house.
And again,
they're not getting any money from it.
Right. We're using the county as the example, but we have had in-house issues.
Yeah.
We've had, some malware. We've had some, a few things.
Well, like in particular cases with the email issues we've had in the past, this system potentially has the ability to strip things from email clean automatically, without having to do it all manually like we were doing for a period of time. So there's, as I say, if we did have something like this happen, that happened to Suffolk County, and they came to us and be like, you don't have this stuff, we'd kind of, be like, basically have our pants at our ankles at that point, be like,
Right.
They'd be like, why didn't you have this stuff?
Right.
So it's kind of basic. It is stuff that I wanted to implement, but even this year, but being that my budget was a little wonky.
Right.
I was like, all right, I don't want to throw it, but it makes sense to push towards it, especially with the recent current
I
events.
agree.
Yeah.
And it's a moving target. You're never gonna be perfectly safe from it, but these are really solid layers, and the price isn't atrocious for what I feel like we're getting.
So again, just as from an ignorant point of view, everything gets backed up every day into the cloud?
Files get backed up every day to the cloud and locally, as well as the servers themselves get mirrored and backed up every night. There is a full run of these servers at PD, and there's a full run of PD servers here. So like say, if PD went down, we have yesterday's server here that we could fire up and run over there. That's the general idea of everything that we have. And the highway too, their server gets backed up as well. But yeah, we do have, I think, 4 or 5 layers of redundancy. But as I say, if someone gets into the system and meddles around and can pay attention to all those things,
Right.
they could potentially compromise all those things if it's in there, if they're in there long enough.
So before we go into, ask the chief, any IT issues, speaking of redundancy, how's the phone system working out?
They're supposed to be coming out. I actually got to follow up with them today as far as the phone systems go. The systems are in place, but they can't get for whatever reason, they are unable to get the dial tones to work in the system. And I don't have the equipment to test, so they're like, all right, they were going to send out a guy that did the initial install, and they were going to sort it all out.
Just so everybody's aware, with the internet was out, and we lost our phone, we lost phone contacts, but the police is not, you have, how do you explain what you have one? Because I couldn't call anybody.
Well, the police, you can't call anybody, but every system has even if we have no internet here, the auto attendants still work. So people can leave their messages if they need to. The police station, for example, is special because it has a press 1 to hit Southold. So even if phones are out at PD with the current way things are set up, if someone calls 0600, the first option is to A, emergency dial 911, and B, to press 1 to connect to a dispatcher. And then they have the option to leave messages for the chief or individual people.
So emergency services wise, we're always covered.
It rolls to Southhold.
They roll to Southhold, yes. The secondary level is what we're trying to work on is when we lose internet for a period of time, say 5-10 minutes, that it rolls over to Verizon lines.
Right.
That's what we're trying to get hooked up, and that's what's not apparently communicating with the system. As I say, all the wiring is done, it's all in place, it's just a configuration thing, and as I say, they were supposed to be sending out, as of last week, he said he was trying to schedule the guy to come out to look at it. But I'll follow up this morning to see, I got it, especially with hurricane season coming.
Yeah, that's my concern.
Here.
Yeah.
Barreling down,
Yes.
we need to, yes, it's literally the top priority on the list besides this stuff.
Chief, anything IT wise?
No, so we had what I would call a subcommittee meeting with myself, Amber, and Ed and Kevin to talk about some of the things that I was aware of out of the county and looking at our own system. And you know, I would apologize for coming to the board late with an add-on item to the agenda for security purposes. But my question to both Ed and Kevin is like, look, if we had this happen to us and they came out, I don't want the first thing they say is, you don't have this. This is the most
so
basic
basic,
of
yeah.
coverages that you should have. And I said, are there any items that they would say that to us on? And Kevin both said, yeah, what we're asking for today. So the county's been out twice for us now because my computer and Jack's computer and our live scan, our fingerprint connect up to the county. So they're checking those devices to make sure that issues aren't being backfed that way.
So they're doing that countywide?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So
There's a lot of pieces in.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of
It's
pieces
very-
to the county
The
system.
county is interconnected to every police station.
Yeah.
So it's It's bad.
So we would be making, to me, a big mistake if we didn't add this into our basic coverage of how we look at our electronic
Security.
systems and securities, yeah. So,
And again, it's not 100% foolproof, but it's.
not at all. No, it's just another layer.
Only way to be foolproof if we pull the plug.
It's just a matter of time now.
Go back to paper and pen method.
And they are, that's what they did there. I mean, all their police reports, they're still doing pen and paper.
How long has this been going on in the county now?
236.
2 weeks.
2 weeks that we know
It's
of.
into the third week.
It's the third.
Since they shut down the
They
website.
pulled the plug, it's been into the third week.
September 8th.
Right.
Wow. And the most amazing thing to me is there's no news coverage about it.
Yeah, there's been a few things on it, but it's just as general information. There hasn't been any real details released.
Overly significant. Okay.
I wonder what the chances of catching the individuals are, you know?
Oh, catching the people that did it? Oh,
Nah, it's not gonna.
they're in India somewhere.
It's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the increase over your budget?
There's whole companies that, that's all they do.
Yeah.
There's whole floors of buildings, that's all they do is this stuff.
15,250.
It's pretty sad. But not much we can do about it other than add as many layers as possible.
Okay, so the overall increase after we made the corrections for office and miscellaneous and equipment is $15,250 increase. Okay, anything else?
I think so.
Media wise, we're good?
Media wise, I think it would be all right. As I say, the reason we were moving that 6,000 around is really no need. We're not paying for cameras anymore, and that kind of, and the cameras that we do buy would fall under the regular equipment budget.
Decide, is the copier for the,
Oh, yeah, the buildings, I was gonna
building
ask.
department, is that,
I haven't talked to them about it. I mean, I guess it would fall under IT. It is equipment.
well, yeah, we have to look, because we budgeted for it in their account, but if you would have it in here, let's find
I
out.
don't have it for this year, but I don't, but usually generally, we, as I say, we have it budgeted for one copier.
Yeah.
Per se, whether that falls under the copier, or not, but in all reality, whether it comes out of their budget or this budget, it's still the same amount of money.
Yeah, the question was more like, you have one copier in the rotation,
Is
Right.
that it?
is it theirs? In which case it would be double counted in our budget. But if it's your copier replacement is not them.
It wouldn't necessarily, that's not necessarily what the copier line was for, and they're not necessarily looking for a copier. They're looking for a large format.
Format scanner, printer.
Scanner.
Yeah.
To do the larger plans and stuff like that. So that, it's kind of like a, because that's not something every department's gonna get every year.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's kind of like a one-off. You'd have to honestly look back. The one that we do have, I don't think came out of this budget. I think it came out of either the engineering budget or
I
something.
mean, the scanner?
The one that we have upstairs, the
The
large.
copy it.
It's a scanner printer, the large format one. But I don't remember it coming out of the IT budget at the time, because it's kind of like a specialty thing.
Right.
Okay.
Makes sense.
It's like the clerk's office doesn't need a large format printer and scanner, so, you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be a rolling yearly thing.
All right, and my last question is, are we gonna move the last camera?
I just got the cables in. Jen literally called me this morning. I had the cables ordered, not only for the camera, but to put those two speakers, which are just temporarily there, up here. And yeah, we were just honestly waiting for temperatures to kind of cool down, because we got obviously work up there. But Ron, it's on his list to run the cable for that camera to be there
Right,
and to put the two speakers there.
so what we're talking about is the camera here to
To see
whoever's
the crowd.
talking to us, you know, making a
Yeah,
presentation.
yeah,
and
the
also the
forward face
crowd.
of the crowd, and also who's talking to you better instead of the side of their head that we.
They get the back of their head.
Yeah, again, it was more,
By their
it was
hair.
put there just as an experiment to see how it all would work. It works really well, so it's a matter of just moving it. And then, as I say, those speakers were part of this whole system in general. And instead of using this TV as the thing, which scared the crap out of me, that was behind me. I didn't know she was remote. But yeah. We'll have one speaker facing this way and one of the speakers facing the crowd. So that should cover the audio here in a much more overall better way.
All right, and again, just to say it publicly, we mentioned this morning, we beefed up the attorney's office, we beefed up the engineering's office, we beefed up the supervisor and town clerk's office, and we created really the IT department, and I just want to thank you because you're doing a great job. Thank you. Okay, anybody else have anything for Kevin? Okay,
Thanks, Kevin.
thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, next we have the police chief here to cover multiple areas. Let's start with,
You say you want to sit?
Microphone bottle.
Yeah, I guess sit in the hot seat.
start with page 13.
It would help to take out for the subtotal we're doing both. And there's the subtotal, she should see it.
Do we have it?
Yeah, it's 54.
Okay. So if you take it, page 54, and just pull it out so we can reference it.
Save time flipping back.
All right, so you know, I'm really gonna bounce a lot, and you might want to prep page 54.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have it.
Yeah, so 13 and 54 are probably where I'm mostly gonna start with. So Supervisor, you want me to start out? Are you starting out?
Go ahead.
So, as you know, each year I come forward with a budget, and I've been doing it for plenty of years now. The police department does our best to run a professional operation. Our budgets are usually very tight. There's not a lot of room for any fluff, and we never ask for anything that isn't of what I consider a necessity at the time or planning for the future. So with that said, we presented, I felt was a very tight budget this year. A couple of the items were moved from our technical budget to capital reserve, and we can talk that a bit as we go along. But the first thing, and I marked it as my number one on page 13, is salaries. And I have really what I would say two areas that I want to talk about in salaries. And then the first one is that I've been working with our town attorney, Stephen Kiley, to address what I would call some issues between our bay constables. And one is we have a bay constable in the highway contract, and we have a bay constable under.
Can you explain what their jobs are? Butchers, this, after.
On town code, right, yeah. So we, as a small community, have used our bay constables as a shared resource within our own town. And so our highway, on the highway side, Butch works for us as a bay constable during the season. And then off-season, he has highway duties, but those duties are becoming more bay constable driven. Off-season, he's prepping boats to go in the water, he's prepping moorings, he's prepping swim lines, he's preparing all our beaches and those kind of things for the season. And then post-season, he's going back and taking those things out. Bo, who was just here, I asked him to leave because I wanted to talk about this with the board first. His role is also a bay constable, and then off-season, he's largely involved with animal control and deer management. But as our town grows, the need for bay constable services are being more, I would just fall square on bay constable as we look at moorings going forward, our docks, our bulkheads, all of those kinds of things. We're asking them to do more and more under the bay constable line. So where I'm going with this ultimately though is specifically in the salary, with one in the highway contract and one in the town code. Stephen and I are looking to have them paired evenly, whether they be in the code or the highway contract, or coming up with a better way to manage them possibly in their own contract. So have a different feeling. I presented a budget that had both Butch and Bo at the same salary line. The supervisor cut that. I'm asking you to put that back. Their salary, I had a note here, it's 76,333, and that's what I put Bo at this year. So what I'd like to do is see that money go back. So it's 76,336. They're both doing like work. They're both titled civil service bay constables, and I think they should be compensated.
Chief, if we go to page 54 to your breakout.
Yep.
On the Bay Constable line, that's all in there plus the other?
Yeah, so that's in there, plus in the Bay Constable line, I have 2 seasonal Bay Constables.
Right.
So I gave that, they were at $30 an hour, I bumped them to 32.
Okay.
But
So
the 76,336, you're saying is the,
So 76,336 is the total salary,
and then it gets.
and then it gets split. So right now I have them 22 weeks with me and 30 with their other roles. So I take that 76,336, divide it by 52, multiply it by 22, and that would be their police side salary, if you want to call it that. And then the other 30 weeks, they're being taken out of those lines. Those are going to keep shifting though. I'm telling you, we're going to probably have to shift those a little bit more over time. That more will come out of the Bay Constable side and less out of the other service side. And we'll have to address that as we move forward.
So just so I understand, so that's in this line?
It's in what I requested.
Right.
So
If I could, so in 2023, then you've already made a small shift, is what I'm
I
asking.
made it 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
is that enough? Is that enough?
I'd like to look at it this year, and then I'll adjust next year. I understand where you're coming from, VJ, because we are definitely gonna have them doing things, what I would call out of the season, in that role, but it still falls under the tax base, right? So
Yeah,
we're paying for it one way or the other. It's just a matter of whose budget it really comes out of.
right, we could always do a transfer, yep.
I don't know, I don't mean to not be looking at you, but I'm not sure who really where to look.
Look at the camera.
This camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, so I'm not trying to, but I agree with you. We'll continue to analyze that. My main point on this is the compensation. It all falls under the tax base. It's just a matter of what department we take it out of. And Bo will be back because we're going to do animal control shortly, but this ties into that budget too, because the other part of the salary comes out of that line.
Right. And he's not part of collective bargaining, I'm just saying that.
No, he's not part of collective bargaining, and that's one of the things Kylie and I are looking at.
So just to follow through on this a little bit more on the expanded roles, Chief, we're looking at the Bay Constables getting more involved in the mooring process. Is that factored in?
To a degree.
Okay.
Yeah, I have enough latitude with their roles. So if Brian has a greater need at highway, I can use Vielbig to a degree, and Bo, because he's under animal control, which directly animal control falls under one of my budget items anyways. So I can work their hours accordingly. Okay, so also on the salaries, where I'm in disagreement with the supervisor is on the clerk positions. Just a couple of points that I would make, I'm looking for fair compensation for work done. I asked for a 10% raise for my 2 clerks. The 10% is much closer to what the CPI is this year. And in looking at the global budget, others have received similar raises. I really, I have to sit here or, stand up for the work that they do every day. And the board and the community might not necessarily see that, but I can't operate as a police chief without their support on the backside. When I present budgets or, PowerPoints or whatever, they're largely doing that work, preparing documents for us, working with the media, fielding all our calls at the front desk. I just really want to come before the board to say, we value their work. They're worth everything we can give them. The cost of living, as you all well know, has considerably increased over the past couple of years. And they are some of the best, lowest paid workers that we have in the community, the clerks across the board. I would stand up for all the clerks in the town on this topic. So I do think that there is a time for us to do a broader look at that group probably within the town. I had mentioned it to Councilwoman Brock Williams and the supervisor that, I'd be glad to, work out some kind of better arrangements. But for now, I can stand up for the two that work directly for me. And when you see a professionally operating police department, behind the scenes are Jen and Amanda doing a lot of that work. And then coupled with that, you have, where we look for this duplicity in role, right? So we try to have Amanda bounce between two operations so that if either operation we had an issue, she could pick up the slack. So if for some reason Debbie got sick or Jen got sick, she could easily fill in both locations. So I don't think when you look at their overall salary and you looked at comparison to the other clerks within the town, that my request was that far out of line. So I would really strongly ask that we put that back into the budget for 2023.
What had you budgeted, Jeff?
Well, last year Chief asked for the same 10%, and we gave everyone 2%, and we gave these clerks 5%. And I'm proposing another 5% increase this year.
So if you look with the real dollars of this, Jim, if you look at that page 54, and BJ, if you're on, I asked for 63,172, and he knocked it down to 6,300. We're talking about $3,000 there. And if you take Amanda's line, it's even less. It's about $1,400 between those two lines.
I'm not.
Then I would offer this in as a last thing is, one of the things is that we have the court officer, and I probably did over ask there a little bit. We could probably drop that by $6K for next year.
Again, I'm not arguing anything you've said, and I think it's town-wide. We need to address all these, and with the town board's trying to do that, we're trying to do that, in steps rather than leaps and bounds. And again, as soon as we do it here, we're gonna hear from everybody else. And I just felt 5% was, it's up to you guys what you're gonna do.
They're working 35 hours a week?
40. And when you look at that, Amber, in doing a review of other positions that are paid more and working less hours.
Yeah, I've got a per hour rate for a lot of clerks. I just want to update it. So maybe I can do that for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Recirculate it for everybody.
And to me, frankly, it feels arbitrary sometimes.
Yeah.
Jim, so, I'm always looking at the total budget. at 14, you'd feel comfortable going down, regardless of what these discussions.
Yep, either way. No, Jim, 100%, that can go down 6K. Yep, I just have that as a note on that sheet because I had that too high.
Because today has been nothing but
Yep.
the wrong way.
And again, Jim, that has nothing to do with, what has to do with the other. It's just the next line item on that salary schedule sheet.
Mm-hmm.
What are you proposing that one to go to?
8,000.
Yep.
14 to 8, plus $6,000.
Chief, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
I have a list, so if you
Yeah.
want me to go through that first, or you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to.
You're probably gonna hit my question, so go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just go.
So the next thing I have on my list, because I'm out of those salary lines, right?
Yeah, that's my question. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Right. So I added and if you look at that second page there, a general equipment line to that item. So in that regard, we put in that line $2,000 for investigative equipment and then $6,000 for a drone. So I figured I would spend some time talking, the $2,000 is largely investigative tools that.
Which page are you on? 13 or 54? Thank
Yeah,
you.
but both, I'm bouncing between 13 and 54. So just to highlight some of the things, so I have, Southhold PD a couple of years ago went to a drone, and a lot of police agencies are adding drones to their tools to investigate a whole host of things. So one of the things that in my thought process was to get an identical drone to what Southhold has. And it's twofold. We're partnered with Southhold in a lot of ways. So we share radios, we offer them help, they offer us help investigatively. I thought that having a same or a similar drone would give us the ability that if our drone was down, we could borrow theirs. If they had a drone go down, they could borrow ours. So some of the pricing is based on numbers that they had given me, which was off a state bid for a drone. So for us, what I'm looking for a drone is to enhance our ability to follow up on a whole host of things. I asked Southhold for calls, investigating motor vehicle accidents. It gives a totally different perspective of what you're looking at. Marine incidents, crime scene documentation, fires. We could assist in fires. It has an infrared thing on it. You can find hot spots on homes, so we could support the fire roll. It would support us in crimes, special events. Whenever we have a special event going on, it would give us a totally different perspective of what's going on at the event. Should there be a problem at the event? And then the other thing that the supervisor brought up to me during preliminary discussions was having the drone as a shared resource through the town. And I think it would be an excellent shared resource, so that if the building department had a property that they wanted to look at, if I just look at some of the things that you guys talk about at meetings, if you wanted to look at a property from a totally different perspective, we could put that resource out there for the town to use. So whether it's the building department, and I'm not sure other departments, but whether it be fire, EMS, any of our emergency services and any operation within the town, I think that it would be a next step in technology and a progressive step in technology for the.
How do you see the procedure? Everybody would be trained to use it, or?
Yeah, no, so we would have to, you would have to get licenses.
Operator, yeah.
We would need an operator. There's a school, and I not to circulate this, but they have a whole school that they offer.
Is that included in this price?
No, it'll come out of my training budget.
Okay.
No. And I have training time, so I would train up a couple of officers so that it wouldn't just be one. Southhold gave me some highlights. They had a couple of people out on kayaks. People were reporting them as overturned kayaks. They flew the drone out there. They can voice through the drone. Is everything okay? Give us a thumbs up. They gave them a thumbs up, and they didn't deploy marine assets to a location. There's, they highlighted some fires that they had gone to recently, some car accidents. A bunch of different ways. It's another tool for us to have and to use as needed.
Jim,
I'm looking-
Could, so I've one general question and one more specific. What happens to the feed? Is it recorded someplace permanently? Do we have that picture on file forever? How much do we have to think about that storage, or it's like not even a thought?
Yeah, I actually have a policy already in place in the police department. Right now, most of our data, we are storing indefinitely, depending on the nature of it. So if it's a crime and it's before a court, we have to go past the appeals period. So it depends on the nature of what it's being used for.
And well, that ties into my next sort of option.
Enough space to handle that.
Because we used to get pictometry. I don't think we do that anymore because it got too expensive. It would be great if in the downtimes, off seasons, especially when the foliage is less, if we could get pictures of coastlines, like, and then when we do have a natural disaster, the hurricane that is definitely coming someday, we could use the drone then to go out and assess the damage if we have the before and afters.
BJ, you're working this like a champ for me. So we, in our current policy that's adopted by the town, both pre and post storms, we're supposed to video and photograph all of our town assets. When I met with the media department in August, going over our hurricane coastal storm plan, we had agreed to just do that every August annually, whether there's a storm or not, so that we could collectively look at that year to year and have it before we have to wait for a storm and rush out there and do it. So that is an excellent use of this. And I'm sure over time, we'll develop other needs and uses for it. I don't see it being underutilized. I think it's a tool for us and for the town.
As a shared resource, I think it has a lot of possibilities as well. Jim, just for the public to know, just out of curiosity, because, we sold the cell tower, one of the things we did is put cameras, without going into any specifics on any individual crimes. You're, as police chief, now that we've deployed these for a couple of years, maybe, have they helped you in any way, shape, or form, just generally speaking?
Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you that on that manslaughter charge we had on that drug arrest, we used the plate readers and the cameras both to track the suspected person coming over to the island and going back from the island. We use it at other times if we get a report of a missing person or someone that's a threat to themselves. We'll put that plate into the system if they move toward the ferries or our car, because we have one on one of the cars too. That data comes up. So we use those, both ferry terminals, both plate readers and cameras frequently.
Okay.
So it's not just what we're looking for. It's what you put out there or what the county puts out to you.
Yeah, it's twofold. One is that we can upload information to the system. So if we're looking at someone in a criminal nature, we can upload that data and we can be alerted to their on and off. And then if the county has somebody, they can also upload into that data. So if that vehicle comes on the island that's stolen or wanted, it'll alert our car and then we'll know that they're in the community. So far they've been very good. And it's funny, I had emailed BJ just last night. She's looking for data for the comprehensive plan, and she was looking for a very vague notion, any stats you have. So I would tell you that we can give you a feel for how many cars come on and off the island. Now, it's also going to pick up people that turn around down there and go out, but.
That's very few. That's 5% of the people.
Right. So it does give us statistical data for other purposes too. But so far, that money was well spent.
Yeah, okay. It's a deterrent too.
Yep. Okay, so back to this on equipment. I just want to make sure I cover that.
I just wanted to ask you one other question in terms of making the road safe with your vehicles as they travel around. Are there speakers on the patrol vehicles so that if people are jogging, biking the wrong way, that you can just put them without stopping the car, sir, ma'am?
Yeah, we have a PA.
You do have a PA on all the vehicles? And my suggestion would be, one of the major complaints you get is people not adhering to the bikes going with the traffic and joggers and walkers, going against the traffic. Simply as you make your rounds, or the TCOs or anybody that's making their rounds, if you could just remind people of that. Now, if you pass by them, then you go down to Shell Beach and you come back up Brander, and the people have disregarded that, then I would see pulling over and saying, oh, by the way, that message was meant for you, for your own safety. If somebody, I don't know I don't think you've ever issued a ticket for something like that, but it at least is a warning. And I do think, I do think it's something, though, that it's a concern. And the other thing is bicycles being 2 and 3 abreast. Single file, please, as you go by. Again, you go down the beach, you come back, and as you're approaching on the straightaway, you see they're back to 3 abreast. That's time to write because I think that's a thorn in people's side. And I don't think you should have to, stop and put your light on but just in passing, you make a comment, and on the way back, people are not adhering to the warning.
Like the ferry boats, please step behind the line.
Correct. So when people don't obey, simple requests for their safety and everybody else's safety, I think it's an important part as we move into wintertime. I'm hoping we get a committee together to make the roads safer, and establish some types of a long-range plan, not something that you just, implement for 2023, but a plan that goes out 5 to 10 years on widening road, different things that we can do and examine about speed limits and the radar systems and all that kind of stuff. But this is just one. The speakers on the car, I've never heard it used. I've seen patrol cars go by them and.
I'd say they probably pull up alongside, roll down a window and tell them go single file. I mean, I've done it before. People walking on the wrong side of the road, I pull right up alongside them, get to the other side, you're gonna get by a car. I got stopped 2 days ago on Friday because a person on a bicycle went through the West Neck stop sign in New York and was like, the police pulled me over and they warned him, didn't write him a ticket,
Right.
but was a little taken aback, that might be the best word, that they got stopped on their bicycle from going through the stop sign.
That would be better than 50, that would be better than 50% of the time, though. I mean, it's a question of whether you run it or you slow down and go through it. But going that slowly, but some people don't. When they come down the hill,
Oh, no, they
especially,
fly
don't
through.
down the hill.
Someone's gonna end up
Yeah.
dead at the intersection.
That's for another chat, but it is.
Back to the budget.
On equipment, same thing, boat equipment, and in the boat equipment line, I had in the supervisor took out $10,000. And so what that was for, it was $5,000 for a canvas replacement and $5,000 for a rub rail. So we have 2 primary vessels on Marine 11. Over the last couple of years, we've replaced the engines on that boat and we replaced the canvas on that boat. Now I'm looking at our Marine 12, our second boat that's on the water, and we really need to do the same thing. When we put the bay constables out in foul weather, they need to have that canvas protection. The canvas protection on that boat is shot, it needs to be replaced. So that at least really needs to get back in the budget.
We did put it back.
So wait, so Chief, originally,
Yeah.
the proposal,
Yeah, we did it without
the
you.
original proposal was 111,500. And I had budgeted 21,500, but we put that money into capital,
No, I'm not talking about the engines. Right now, I'm only talking about
And then
10,000 for the
on
canvas.
Tuesday, we had made that mistake and then we put it back.
We put it at 31.5 and 10,000 for motorways.
Yes.
That's what I had written there.
I have 21.5 is what. we
Yeah, but then
budgeted.
I have an arrow, it says 31,500, 10,000.
Oh, yeah.
10,000 for waterways.
Yeah, whatever you ask.
So the boat, I'm on page 54. Boat equipment line is highlighted.
Correct.
What's that number?
13.
13, so you put the 10 back.
Yes.
Perfect, so I can drop that conversation. Okay, on to the next on equipment is radio equipment.
Yes,
Okay, so I just want to make sure that the 40,000 is in capital.
it's in capital.
3 years.
Understood, I'm just affirming that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You want to just explain what that's all about?
Right, so, and I have a note here, that is a 3-year plan to upgrade our radio systems. The county is making a move to enhance communications between all agencies. Right now, some radios are on VHF, which we are, and some are on 800. The move is towards an 800 radio system, which will enable all of us to, if we have a shared exercise or a shared emergency, that we can all communicate, interagency. Southold, who we pay, and I'm going to talk about that a little further down the line for dispatch services, will make that move to 800, which will force us to 800. So that's why we're making this aggressively over the 3 years.
No choice there.
Yep, no real choice there. Okay, so
And
now,
Jim, just a real quick question, all of these larger expenses, boat engines, radios, you're constantly looking for money, right?
100%,
From else,
yeah.
yeah.
And I really do believe that, or my hope is still that we get the engine money from the state.
Yeah.
So we got the boat with the engines is on a state grant. They were, and both boats on state grants, and they replaced the primary boat engines now once. So they gave us a boat with 2 engines, then they replaced the engines, no cost to the town. We got the second boat with engines, and now we're trying to replace them, but I don't want to get caught short. So that money can sit in that line as long as it's available to us. We're still trying to get that money from the state, but if it doesn't come and the engines go, I don't want to be stuck without a boat.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So BJ, 100%, I'm on the capital planning and grants committee. We talk to Jen Messiano all the time.
It's on the radar.
That one is, we're on it.
Yep.
So the next part I was going to was maintenance and on car maintenance, and I'm just trying to think, I had that itemized. And just let me get to where that is. I had taken that up $5,000. We've had a heck of a time trying to get new police cars. I'm already zeroed out on my maintenance this year. My balance on maintenance is, I have a thing here, it's like 58, maybe 58 cents on negative. So I do believe it's in our interest to pump that maintenance up $5,000 because, let me just look at that line. I'll tell you, car maintenance is at 80 cents and we're into September. So it would be remiss of me not to push that line up $5,000 because, and we have a car currently on order. We're waiting for it to be delivered, and I'm hoping that's going to happen in a month or so. But in the meantime, we're pushing our cars pretty far into their service period now. So I'm asking for $5,000 to be added to the car maintenance line.
So you want to go from 20 to 25?
No,
15 to 20.
Okay.
Yep.
So Jim, if we were to get that new car though, within the next 3 months prior to 2023,
We still have, most of our cars are pretty high mileage now.
okay.
Yep.
That was just anticipation, saying, could we?
Because now I'm worried about the delivery on next year's hopefully budgeted car. So this one that we're getting now, we placed an order January 1st. And so we were unable to get it.
I thought we didn't even have a production number.
We don't even have a production number
How
on
are we
it.
gonna get it in a couple?
We're getting one off the lot that we're painting and haven't sent out.
Okey-dokey.
Yeah, it's that bad.
Okay.
Fuel costs, I'm okay with the fuel costs. I had initially doubled, so right now I'm on boat gas and oil and car gas and oil. They're separated by a little bit on that main page. Fuel does seem to have come back down. I had originally doubled the numbers. The supervisor reduce those. At the end of the day, look, this year I'm asking you for 11.5. Amber, I'm assuming I'm going to get that soon because I have
Tomorrow.
because we're zeroed out on both our budget lines, and I hate coming back to the board in contingency for money. But I do feel that initially fuel had doubled, but now it's easing back down. We hope it's going to stay under that model and that the supervisor's adjusted budget will work. Office and miscellaneous, Jerry, there were just some slight discrepancies that I had there. I had moved money from one to the other. So it doesn't really matter how you shake it. I had taken 5,000 out of office and miscellaneous, I believe, and put it into telephones. Because we pay, Jim, back to those cameras at the ferry terminals, it costs us $5,000 a year.
Maintenance.
No, to get the signal sent to the station.
Oh, all right.
Right, so we have modems at both ferry
Yep.
terminals that we pay Cablevision to push that data up. And then the other part that I needed in there was I added 1,500. And one of the things that the police department did probably about 6 months ago now is we added a telehealth service for our calls when we have somebody that's struggling with mental health issues, where we get a mental health professional to get on virtually, to a telehealth conference call. So I added 3 phones to the police cars. It costs us $120 a month. So depending on how you want to shake that, I need, that $6,500, but.
What I did, chief, was, he asked for 16,500 in telephone, I gave you 10, and he asked for 15 in office and miscellaneous, I gave you 20. So it's
Right, so just to have a more accurate accounting, that 6,500 should be the 16,500 and the 15,500, and the 15 were what I would call correct. I don't need 20,000 in my office and miscellaneous.
So you just want to move it up to,
Right, I want that to go in telephones because that's where it's.
So what are the telephones changing from 10 to what?
15.
15, okay.
I would like that to be 16,500.
Oh,
Because that's what it is, right?
16.
I would like it to be a 2%.
Well, I can only tell you what we expend, and it's not an expense that I have real control over.
5, and then the telephone.
Then the office and miscellaneous can go back down to.
15.
This year's number trends to just over 16,000
Right.
telephone, so
Yeah.
it needs to be 16,500.
Can that office and miscellaneous go down to 14? Just to make up for that telephone? It's peanuts, but
Yeah, let me just see where we're at now. So I can tell you my office and miscellaneous right now is probably almost zero.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's trending to be
It's-
18,000 by the end of the
yeah.
year.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, so.
Okay.
Okay, next on to contracts. And again, these are kind of hard numbers. They're not numbers that I have a lot of play in. And one of the most significant changes on the contract line is that the county is moving to a shared records management system. And with that records management system comes a different way to dispatch. So Southold had a contract with a company called Hexagon. And in that contract, each car is a licensed entity in it. So they are the cost to us is $10,000 in additional services to Southold next year. So I added that to our radio contract. So I met with Stephen last week. He's going to do addendum to the radio contract, but plus our radio contract goes up by the cost of living. So we got a cost of living increase going into next year. So together, the total is $99,772.68. Now, the bulk of it is radio contract, okay? The radio contract with Southold will go from roughly $56,124 to $70,052. I have other contracts in there and I can read them off if you want a better understanding of it, but it's pretty much a hard number. It's not one where I can say, well, just don't put $3,000 in there and then we don't have it. So I think that line is better served to stay at.
Did we negotiate that contract?
You can negotiate it if you want.
Never heard of-
I wouldn't recommend
Never heard of a
contract.
Never heard of-
That is the best contract we have.
the cost of living in this kind of contract.
No, I can give you the printout for it.
Well, I'm not saying you.
No, in the contract,
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So they do a cost of living adjustment every year to our existing radio contract. I believe the last time it was signed was 2017, which I have a copy of, the 2017 contract. I got it from Marty and I think I shared it with you, Doc. we didn't know where it was. But anyways, long story short is they just sent me a cover letter because I wanted to know what it was budget-wise. So I adjusted it to the cost of living and added the $10,000. So that's how I got to the 99,772.68. So just so you know, like copier maintenance, we have a GPS tracking device, $700. All traffic solutions, we have those cameras around, they're $2,500. A noise meter gets calibrated every year, that's $320. We have our impact records management, which is $10,700. iCrime Fighter, we have so the police officers can use their phones to collect digital images. It goes to the cloud. McLaughlin, Lexipol, our policy manual's out of there. Our plate readers are at the ferry, 2100, radio, the Southfield contract, our MAV, our video cameras in the car. We pay for cloud data to store all those videos that BJ and I were talking about earlier, if you added drones. And we have MAV storage. So together, all of that, which is pretty hard and fast contractually, comes out to that number.
So it's a $17,000 increase.
Okay. I think that's all I have.
Okay, jail pretty much stays the same.
Yeah, those are relatively unchanging items. Jail, neither one of us changed it. And then we're on to animal control, and I
I put in 2% for the, 4%. 4% and 2%.
I have a note of 4%.
4% for the, and
yeah, don't worry about it, leave it the same, we're not using all, I would just leave it the same.
Jim, am I missing anything on your job description above and beyond police chief? I have mitigation plan, town's mitigation plan, you're in tech, emergency management. Those are the three primary, aren't they, or do you have?
Well, animal control falls under me.
Okay, well, that's what I was putting.
Right.
You're in.
Right.
Okay, animal control.
And emergency management is the other, what I would say my second big hat is emergency management.
and IT you're involved in, but you're not.
Well, yeah, I'm on, if committee wise,
Capital grants and planning.
right?
Jim, can you talk about the salary line underneath you? And what that increase represents?
So line item by, what page are you on, BJ?
13?
13.
Go to page 54.
Yeah, right, so the breakdown is on page 54.
What's she talking about? Is she talking about the chiefs or the officers?
No,
So
I'm
the
talking about the officers, but is that the current contract? As if the current contract was gonna still be in place?
Jerry, you might want to speak to that.
Amber?
Yes. What's in there is certain officers are still moving up steps. So those steps are reflected in the
Increase.
2023 numbers, but any negotiated contract is not included. So we put an estimate for something into contingency for both contracts, highway covers.
BJ, that breakdown is on 54, right? You looked at 54?
Yep, I got,
Yep.
I have
So
that, but I was just wanted to know the assumption for next year. So that's good.
Yep.
Is that a mistake on Rando, when we call him patrol officer, isn't he?
Yeah, yep.
Promoted to sergeant?
Yep.
Well,
Yes.
Oh, you mean like the title?
Yes, the title.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, animal control?
Okay, Bo, you coming up here?
You seem like you got it pretty good.
Come on. Sit next to me, I'll slide over my shoulder.
Too much in the last questions, hopefully, because that's.
So the first thing, and I can speak to the first one, and I kind of hit it up in the beginning, is that the salary reflect my proposed. So we have equity in position.
So the chief's proposing 44,040. I'm proposing 42,810. Again, mine is based on 4%.
And last year's salary for Bo was 20 weeks, not 22 weeks in that position. I mean,
I changed 2 weeks.
yeah, 32 instead of 30.
So this current proposal is for 32 weeks, not 30 weeks?
30,
It's for 30.
yep,
And this one's 30.
30.
Last year was,
right. But again, because it falls under the overall police operation, we shift them around. It's just a matter of how we shake it. But again, I really do believe, forgetting percentages for a second, that his title is Bay Constable, right? And that they be paid accordingly. There's room for longevity and other things to separate the positions, but the work.
okay.
All right, Bo, so do you want to go through the explanation on anything?
Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
can just go down, I guess, start with, at the equipment line. Really, I mean, the supervisor, with the exception of that particular line, has suggested everything that we had suggested, which was generally a overall reduction from last year. The only one line item that's different from our suggestion was in the equipment line. You bumped that up for $500 from 2,000 requested to 2,500, which is still a reduction from the 33 and change that was adopted. The reason that we've decreased that is simply that we've effectively updated and modified all of our equipment. So we're in a good position right now from the previous years.
So we could bring that down to 2,000.
Right. And then otherwise, everything's remained the same across the board. The real, the big ticket item, if you will, which is still the same, is 60,000 in gear reduction management. The flyover does come out of that. We are anticipating and hoping to conduct a flyover again. That's right around $26,000. We have previously secured funds from Shamik to help offset the cost of that. I have a request into them for this upcoming one again. If they could do the same thing again, that would be fantastic. But we're doing it for us, for the town. So we have to obviously budget accordingly to pay for the whole thing. Ideally, we get some money back from them for that.
Oh, at the East End Supervisor and Mayors, Jim
He knows
made
that.
a little presentation. Have we heard back from any of the other?
Well, Bo would hear back, but directly.
Yeah, so the only person I talked to who I think is now former Mayor Jeff Sanders from
North Haven, yeah.
and I haven't heard anything more about that. He had discussed it with us just very casually, saying they were loosely interested in doing it and wanted to explore it more. I deal with a person by the name of Chris Miller over there who runs their four-poster program, so he's kind of my point of contact. I haven't really heard anything more about that from him. But that could potentially be a cost savings or cost sharing on the transport fees.
Right.
Councilman Collier has talked about in the past.
And what's the Deer and Tech Committee's feeling? One more year? You want 3 solid years or just every year?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, we like to collect as much data as we can for as long as we can, right? So I wouldn't want to commit to saying we don't want to do it in subsequent years. But I think having 3 years in a row certainly gives us, sort of bookending our information. And then perhaps after that, we could look at expanding the intervals. But
I think
yes, we would like to keep.
Generally, that's what came out of the committee meeting, that we were going to do the flyover 21, 22, and 23 for the collection of data. The data was important to the committee. If we were going to take a hiatus, it would be in 2024. I mean, again, we're not forecasting that, but that would be it. Not only does it give you a good accurate count of the number of deer and what your meeting goals or not, it also pinpoints the deer populations of where they are at that particular moment. Doesn't necessarily mean that 3-4 months later they can't be moved around the island, but it does prepare you when you do this kind of a survey, especially if it's done a little earlier. Like the first one was done in January, the second one we did last year was more of a March, right, beginning of March. But having it done in January, if you get the data back in 2 to 3 weeks, you still have 4 to 5 to 6 weeks of hunting left, the second half of February and all of March, to kind of pinpoint where the deer are located. So my thing would be trying to, again, it's all weather related and plane related and other demands that we don't necessarily have a control over. But it is more advantageous to have that reading done earlier. If we get the information back, it usually takes several weeks to pinpoint all this information. But it would set up a nice end of the season, 6 week, where we need to target. And as you know, we have been targeting more does than bucks. That's the emphasis. Because obviously, if you can take the doe down, you're taking not just the doe, but you're taking an additional 1.75 potential deer for the months of May and June, which all factors into us trying to meet that deer management goal of cutting the herd by 50%, which we're very close to. And then, the flyovers after that, depending on what the board is willing to support and what the deer and tick committee recommend back to the board, you won't see another attempt to cut that deer herd in half. If we were ever to successfully get down to the estimated number of deer that we sought in the 650 range, let's say, by end of summer, after all the births, that maybe that we would look for a 10% reduction in that, to bring that down, another 65 deer. But that flyover also helps you in terms of controlling your maintenance, because maintenance is going to be important. Deer are prolific. If you don't continue to actively hunt, those numbers, all the work that went into getting this herd down to a workable number, skyrockets within 2 to 3 years. If you did no hunting, for that for 2 or 3 years, you'd be right back from starting, back to the starting point again. And we can't afford to go back there for a variety of reasons. So everybody's aware of that. So this maintenance program is something that's fluid. We're fortunate to have a guy like Bo with his background and his ability, that his credibility on not only on Eastern Long Island, but right here in our own community, handling recreational hunters, difficult situations, homeowners, trying to finesse, opening up properties. This is full-time job type of thing to do. That's something which, plus the fact that I reiterate the fact that I think the number was 48,000 pounds, 16.
Other way.
What was the other way?
16,000 pounds.
16,000 pounds of venison that we've put on the market in the last 6 years, I believe that was, which is a phenomenal amount of meat that went directly into serving the community. And we find our hunters to be, I don't want to be off the topic of hunting, but this is a big item. If you remember back in, when I first started on the board, ticks, taxes, and the aquifer, it was deer were right up there as one of the issues. Now with community housing, water, septics, and everything else, it seems to be down, but make no mistake about it. The health of people here that visit this island, and it's not just a problem for Shelter Island, it's a problem for the whole Northeast, that we want people to try to get out to the great outdoors and enjoy the beauty of Shelter Island. To do that, we have to do the best job we can at deer management, because it's related to tick management numbers, and, they don't want to go into that discussion. But, and I think the committee is doing a great job, even expanding beyond that, the leadership of Doc Bevilacqua, working with Bo. They really have come up with other techniques, much more education, which is involved, which we weren't doing. It might have been a godsend with the 4-poster, because we were able to reallocate monies to things that we haven't increased the budget. We've just reallocated funds to other prongs. We had the 3-prong approach, or we have more of a 2-prong approach now, but, and we investigate. Remember a year ago, everybody was talking about burning. We both spent a lot of time going out there and researching all that about burning, and it just, Again, it's a difficult task. These are not the 1950s. We know what you could do in 1950s and 60s and 70s and just burn at will, but can't do that anymore. And that all factors into tick population. So, you know, it's a difficult assignment. But thank God we got a super qualified, highly motivated, respected individual on this.
Can I go back to number one then?
To be honest with you, there's no doubt in my mind that I just watched it on Beach Access. So we have to go to pick up Beach Access, and I went out there and together with several other people in the committee, they did that was a professional job what they did. That committee, that was just a little extra assignment that took literally hundreds of hours to do well, but it was done well. And thank God we have these kind of talented people in this town that do these things.
And I would highlight just one other thing while we're slightly off task, is that just at the end of last week, 7 a.m, we have 2 fishermen capsizing a boat off a Real Point. And I got Officer Keel on land, drive down there, boats jumping in a boat and flying out there, and they're rescuing two fishermen.
Right.
In frigid water, who get transported in an ambulance. I'm gonna highlight it with the Reporter and the Gazette this week when we do our press release, but we're asking our employees to wear a lot of hats all the time, and that's how Shelter Island works. So I'm not for a second begrudging that, because he knows what he signed up for, and Butch knows what he signed up for too. So I just would remind you.
Yeah, it's one of the beauties of having a vast majority of our police force here on the island.
Yep.
Not just not just Bo and Butch and people like that, but the entire police department, because God forbid, we need a response, get 2 officers on duty, but we need 6 or 7 officers to respond to a dangerous situation. They're here. To ask somebody come from South Hills, East Hampton and stuff, that's a difficult situation. You done?
We wanted,
I'm on, I
we
got
wanted
NIMS
to ask
still.
about the DEC grant. It's been in the budget like the last 2 or 3
DEC grant
years.
on animal
Should we
control.
still,
Last I don't think
Budget
so,
for that
because
or no?
the contract period should have ended at this point. I know that when I last spoke with Jen Meziano, I'd given her everything we need to submit for reimbursement for that, so I assume that's
so it's probably
occurred.
pending?
And then eventually that'll come back. Obviously, it's multiple years in a row, so I assume that reverts back to probably just a general fund overall, but that contract term should be up, so I wouldn't
Okay, so-
expect that. To whoever's point before, BJ's point before, we're always looking at grant opportunities for all that stuff, right, on the deer management side. That was like a weird little side step around. The DEC was offering a food scrap waste reduction grant. And we pitched it to them as we're harvesting deer and pulling them, putting them back into the community as a food source. And they loved it. Like, that's absolutely. So we're constantly working on other ways to try and get some outside funds to help us.
In 30 seconds, EHD, any reports?
Yeah, so EHD is probably on its way again.
How's
Which was
EHD?
EHG.
EHD is
It's what attacks the deer, it's a viral, it's a
The
viral
hemorrhagic.
Okay.
that brings death to the deer. I reported it.
Right, so it's a disease that potentially impacts the deer population. It's a fatal disease. It's not any risk to humans or pets or anything like that. It's transmitted to and from living deer to living deer. So we had our first confirmed case last year here. First ever, it was a novel case. I found a deer, got it tested. So
But suspected many more.
Yeah, there were several more suspected. There's been a few suspected already this year, although the outbreak doesn't usually start until about now,
Right.
like later in September, early October.
So you get the frost.
And then it runs through the first frost, and then it terminates the outbreak for the year. So we're constantly monitoring for that. We've had a couple suspected, none actually tested yet, because there's a
That's good.
protocol for testing time-wise, and we were notified too late for that. But would expect that there will be some presence of EHD this year.
And there's no danger to the public if they, if they harvest the deer?
No.
No.
It's typically extremely fatal very quickly to the deer, so deer that get sick are usually dead before the hunter could harvest them, right, like in between the two.
NIMS?
Yeah, so I didn't really ask for a change in NIMS. I actually haven't spent my 1650 yet this year. I usually wait to the end of the year. And largely, we use that money for emergency operations center equipment, anything out of headquarters, which is our headquarters. And then we have our continuity of operations center, which is the basement of justice court. We probably need a few more little things over there so that if we had a failure at headquarters, we can go to the basement of justice court. So I will use that on continuing that setup down in the justice court. The other contractual part is our Code Red, which is our emergency notification system that we've paid already this year. That's our annual charge for Code Red.
Okay, all right, so just a quick review. Police plus $17,000, the contracts. Jail is minus $300. Animal control is plus 730. Take the 500 out, if we take 2,000, I'll take 500 out of the equipment and add 1,230 to the salary. Okay. So 1,000 there, looks like a $16,000 increase.
The animal control stuff again?
Animal control was plus 1,230.
No, the equipment is going from 2,500 to.
Oh,
Two.
Going down $500, yeah.
Okay, and then salary, you were,
going up to what? 4440.
okay.
What was animal control plus?
This is all animal, the total?
Yeah, total.
130
Make it zero.
increase.
Make it zero and take it out of equipment. We'll work it out. Don't worry.
I took equipment, I took 500 out.
500 out of equipment.
You can make it zero and we'll work it out.
Why don't I just take out 1,000?
Okay.
Leave 1,000 in equipment.
Yep.
All right, so 2,500 goes to 1,000.
Yes.
So does that mean on police, we went up in the salary for the Bay Constable Center?
Yes.
I didn't note that change.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I did.
You did.
Oh, it's in there, it's in your proposals.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but-
88, you have 85.
2302.
So the. Just give me a second, did you get the, just, since you're still here, the titles, the civil service title analysis, have you gotten that yet?
From across, yes,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, okay, I didn't get copied on that. but-
Okay, yes, I just got it this morning,
Oh, okay.
so I'll get with you whenever you want.
Jim,
We're
could you
just taking a look at all salaries and titles and things like that, just to.
just remind the guys that we're anxious to continue this negotiations with getting this project done.
Yep.
So Amber and I have suggested that, not suggested, what the other four, plus our breakdown of the salaries on the east end.
Okay,
Okay.
so you're waiting.
Yeah, I already went to, I
I'll
already
tell him, you,
I already told them, but
yep, you got it.
I think he has all that data supposedly. I can't go by hearsay. I need.
No,
I
100%.
need to see it in writing.
Yep. Get copies of the contracts.
Yeah.
Okay, easy.
So if Amber and I have that in our hands, we can take a look at that, play with that a little bit, and then schedule the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
Good,
yep, thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
thank you. Yeah, BJ scares you, she's right behind you, and she pops up.
I should be scary even when I'm in front of you.
Yeah, so BJ, I'm in training the next couple of days in Albany on a police symposium. And so I'll get with you on data for the comprehensive plan, but I gave Jim Bareski a heads up on it too. So
Yeah.
it was a little broad, I'm just trying to narrow that down a little bit on.
I will.
on how we can support you. And
Oh, the next
because
day or two. I
I'll
was
give
gonna say
you,
the next, yeah. Because I
call-
can narrow it down with an email to Jen. You know what I'm saying?
just copy me on it too, if you don't mind.
Yes.
And I don't mind jumping on the phone with you, just sharing, you can share your thoughts, and then I can just tell you what we may be able to put together.
Great. Great.
What's the
thanks.
timeline on that?
Oh, a month or two.
Okay, good. All right, I think
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Getting a lot of questions about traffic patterns, how busy are the ferries, things
Yeah,
like
so
that.
so
So
that
that
would be
would be helpful.
Yeah.
So, you know, they want us to do a full-on traffic study, which we don't have time or money for.
Right.
But you guys can give us good information on how many people are coming on and off North Ferry,
Yeah.
South Ferry, you
I
know.
don't know if you were copy, BJ sent me an email on Sunday, and I messaged her back just saying, hey, look, here's something that you have, but if I can just get if I can be a little
More detailed, yeah, we'll get you more information.
And we'll get you what we can. Because we also collect data on those speed signs.
Yes,
So everywhere you see those flashing speed signs, we're collecting traffic data.
that would be
But if you
helpful.
can't compare it,
Right,
then it's troublesome. Like, if we can't say, well, what was it 10 years ago?
right.
So we
But you
tell what
could
it is
say,
now.
60% of the people are speeding on this road based on this sign, you know,
Definitely say
yeah.
The 85th percentile is a big thing now.
Yeah, okay. All right, cool.
All right, yeah. So I'll work with you on that,
Yeah,
but
I'll let you know what kind of questions we're getting asked and what kind of data we need to,
backfill.
exactly. Perfect.
And BJ, never an offense, by the way.
So, but either way.
Okay, so tomorrow we're gonna meet
You
with,
don't find out, are you kidding?
Yeah, I know, sorry.
tomorrow we have Brian, Sherman at 9 AM.
Yep.
And Jack at 11 AM.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, everybody.
All right. See you later, Meg.
All right.